Welcome to Connecting Jewish Grandparents, the Grand Plan podcast. I am thrilled that you are here with me, where we look at the weekly Torah portion and how it relates to you as a grandparent, those practical, meaningful things that change who you are, who your children are, and who your grandchildren are, because that's what the Torah has been doing forever. Please take a moment to follow whatever it means that you, every week, as soon as a new episode comes out, that you are ready to get it. I'd like to think that this is impacting your week in a meaningful way. I'm thrilled that you're here to do it. So please follow and share. Let other people know about what we are doing here for Jewish grandparents through joyful, intentional connections. All right, this week is Parshat Shelach. I could start with how much I love Parshat Shelach. What we do here is geared to grandparents, but a very long time ago, when my children were tiny, I had a weekly blog, not a podcast, but a blog about what we did to learn Torah each week for the children, what Parsha projects we could do. It was called Kosher Kids. And Shelach is the way I kicked it off because I found at that time for my preschool children the idea of spies and seeing what you see and what's really going on and what do we understand was so impactful and meaningful for them. And we made little binoculars and we went to the zoo and we described what we saw, and it was fantastic. Well, now my children are no longer itsy bitsy preschoolers. And yet, this Torah portion is even more relevant and even more relatable today. It is for them, and I think that it will be for you. But as long as we're taking a step back before we dive in deep, a couple weeks ago, I was in a room full of adults. And the conversation, it was, there were funny parts and interesting parts. And then somehow, suddenly, everything took this political turn that I was not anticipating. And I wanted to say, like, wait, no, let's do some perspective taking. No, I don't think you mean, but 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 I didn't. And I can come up with reasons why I didn't defend my stance or stand up to say what I meant, but it doesn't really matter why I didn't. Because I didn't. I felt the pressure. I doubted myself, not my opinions. I was true to my opinions, but I was afraid of expressing them. I was afraid to be alone in what I said. I was afraid to be mocked and to be isolated. It is hard to stand alone in your opinion. And I'm saying this is hard for me today or a couple weeks ago in a room with my colleagues. So now, if it was hard for me recently, how did Caleb, Caleb, do it? So let me give a little bit of background because I started by saying how much I love this Torah portion, but I didn't summarize it. Shelach lecha is what it's called, and it means send for yourself. That's what the title means. And this is the story of the spies that Moshe sends 12 spies into the land of Israel to scout it out before the Israelite nation is going to enter the land. They're going to go and see, and they have specific guidelines of what they're supposed to look for, what they see, bring back fruit, check on the details of the landscape and the people and the infrastructure so that we can go in as strong as we can. I'm not going to get too much into why they sent them. As we said, it's called Shelach Lecha, send for yourself. This was not really the divine plan. It does not go very well. So I said, how does Caleb manage it? What does he manage? When the 12 spies come back, 10 of them say, we can't do this. They express complete self-doubt about the possibility of entering the land of Israel. And I said they're 12, I said 10 said no. Two of them stand up and try to express this is not okay. So I want to first look at what that is like because it is not different than when I did not stand up to my colleagues and their political opinions. Okay, the 10 spies that express doubt about Israel, they're not evil, they're leaders. They're respected people. They're smart people. And yet, the 10 of them get stuck in this negative feedback loop. The fear feeds the fear. And soon, the whole nation is swept away in this negativity and this doubt. It's not just, oh, I don't know. It is no. And when we look at it in the Torah, we look at the Torah describes the hysteria that breaks out among the people, the things they say that are ridiculous. And it seems so outrageous. Or it did when I first learned it as a child, and it still kind of felt that way when I was making the little binoculars with my children. But times have changed. And when you look at what social media says and the ability for everyone to go along with it, the shocking bias of news reports, what goes on in groups that you once considered your friend groups, I can't even begin talking about college campuses and if your grandchildren are there, what they are experiencing. But you do know the closest to home. And those are the family conversations. When one family member or many family members have an opinion that is so out of line with yours and their ability to get others to rally with them. How did we get to this place that's so far gone? I can't really answer that. That's too big of a question. But what I can answer, what I want to talk about here is what I said at the beginning, which is, in spite of it all, how did Caleb handle it? And I said that there are 12 and one, and I'm only naming Caleb. So the other is Yehoshua bin Nun. And his name was Hoshea before. And Moshe changes his name and gives him strength. He's Moshe's assistant. So I feel like asking how Yehoshua bin Nun, he's Joshua. The next book of the Tanakh is where he is the star. He takes over after Moshe. So of course he was able to do it. He's got Moshe cheering him on. He's going to be okay. But what about Caleb? He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that background and support. So where does he go that keeps him on a path that others couldn't do? Well, while the Israelites, while the spies were in the land of Israel, and they are doing everything they're doing, Caleb takes a detour. He goes to Hebron. That's what the Torah describes. Specifically, he goes to Hebron. What's in Hevron? You probably know. Marat HaMachpelah, the tomb of the matriarchs, the graves of Adam and Eve. It's the tomb that Abraham purchased to bury Sarah, which is where he's eventually buried, and Yitzchak, and Rivka, And yeah, they're all there. So why does Caleb take a turn and go there? Why does he come out better and stronger and true to who he is and what he believes? He doesn't win this debate with the other spies, the other Miraglim, because he is a better debater. Want to reference Charlie Kirk here, but I feel it's probably not the right time and place. Why does Caleb do well? Because he has stronger roots. And what are his roots? The roots of the Avot and the Imaot, the places where he came from, the places in times of uncertainty he turned to, his grandparents, great grandparents. When the voices around him got louder, Caleb listened to the older voices, to the interior voices left to him by his ancestors. He listened in to the grandparents, and that's where he knew he would find the truth. My grandparent friends, you cannot control the social media. It would be pretty cool if you could. And you really have no role in what's going on college campuses across the United States, Canada, the world. And you can't choose your children or your grandchildren's friends. And you don't have much impact on the culture around them. But what the grandparents can do, what you always can do, is provide the roots. When your grandchildren are confused, where do they go? And that's kind of the older ones. The younger ones, it doesn't matter. When they're scared, who or what reminds them of who they are? When your grandchildren face pressure, what inner voice will speak back? Hopefully, the voice in them will say, "This is who our family is. This is who you are." You, the grandparent, become Hevron. You are the place for them to come back and find where they came from. And this isn't because you lecture. It's because you embody continuity in the family. You share with them who they are in their deepest places through the stories you tell, the values you bring, traditions, and the memories you sculpt and you structure. You are that Hebron. You are that grounding voice. The goal is not to produce grandchildren that agree with us all the time. I mean, it would be nice, but that's not the goal. From the time they can yell no, they're going to have their own opinions. The goal is to produce grandchildren who know who they are. This is what Caleb demonstrates. The Torah describes that he has ruach acheret, a different spirit, a grounded spirit, a spirit that can stay true to what he believes and who he is now, and where he came from. So, my friends, the big question is, what are you doing today that will become your grandchildren's Hebron tomorrow? This question has always been true. But in today's political arena, it's so much more so. The fact that thousands of years ago, Yoshua and Caleb had to defend the right for Israel to be the Jewish homeland, the same fight that we're fighting today, it's always been who we are. He had to turn to Hevron. They have to turn to you. It's not an easy one, but it's what you were made for. And I know you can do it. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast on Shelach Lecha. Remember that you can sponsor an episode or a weekly email, the Grand Plan Weekly. Share this. Please invite others to join us in influencing, impacting, and empowering Jewish grandparents. So spread the word. Have a wonderful week.